Hi, my name's Jason. It's week 5, day 33 of my full-time chronic pain rehabilitation journey. Today I'm going to talk about the key elements of my rehabilitation plan, what I think is great about it, and why I think it could help a lot of people. First, though, I'm going to give you a quick status update. Today was a day of extraordinary results. Here are the results. I swam 18 consecutive freestyle laps. My personal best was 14, and that was just from Monday of this week, so about 3 days ago. And my decline squat went from, when I started out, it was 15 reps at 110 pounds, and it went to 9 reps at 250 pounds. So I'm definitely putting up a lot more weight now on my lower body, and I can do that. I can't squat, in a normal fashion because the weight would be on my shoulders, which would press on my spine. But in a decline position where I'm lying down, I can put up quite a bit of weight, and it doesn't really bother my lower back that bad. So that's an adaptation that I do. And then the next personal best is the cold tub. The last time I sat in there consecutively for 25 minutes, this time I sat in it for 30 minutes consecutively. I don't think I'm going to go any farther than that or longer because at that point, my limbs, when I got out, weren't quite working. And so I want to be able to transfer into the hot tub afterwards. I think I've pressed up against the limit where it makes sense to not push any further. Plus, I don't know at what point hypothermia starts to set in, so I figure I'm not going to press my luck. All right. So the question is, with these gains, am I cured? And I don't think so, because what I really want, it wasn't clear to me at the beginning, but what I really want to get out of my rehabilitation is the ability to sit or stand for a reasonable period of time so I can focus on something, whether it's a work or some other side project that I'm working on. I just can't have pain constantly be there nagging at me all the time and keeping me from being productive and my best. That's what I'm trying to achieve. All right, moving on to tips. This one's related to weightlifting. So if you experience any kind of popping or feel strain somewhere, it usually means that you're using too much weight or you need to adjust the way that you're doing the exercise. There's some kind of positioning that's off. And the person who clued me into this was my personal trainer. There is a tricep push-down type exercise that I was doing, and I was standing completely straight. And when I would push down on the bar, my elbows would like pop, and I couldn't push very much weight, to be completely honest. And it was popping like crazy. I'm like, this can't be good for me. So I'd written the exercise off entirely. What he showed me how to do was to put one of my feet back, put the weight on my forward foot, and then lean forward a little bit. And it takes all the pressure off my elbows, all the pressure off my back, and I can do the exercise now. So there are adaptations out there for pretty much every exercise. I've already given you one of them with my squat adaptation, right? I can't squat with the weight on the barbell on my back and have my spine be compressed, right? So what I do instead is lay down in a machine so I can put all the weight into my lower spine instead of my middle spine. So there are ways to do things that can work around injured areas. All right, for the topic, I want to move on to the key elements of the rehab plan that I have and why I think it's a good one. A Facebook friend said something that was really nice and meaningful to me. She said that she could see me at some point teaching or talking to thousands or maybe millions of people about my journey. And it sounded preposterous to me, to be completely honest, at first glance. But then I actually found myself today dreaming about it, like letting myself dream, like what would that be like? And if I were to share my rehab plan, what would I talk about? Well, what are the key elements? What's in it? What would I share with people? And so I want to go over those key elements today. The first one is you just have to start. I had a plan framework when I started out, but I didn't have it all, fully written out or figured out. I had to sort of iteratively go over these exercises week after week after week and adapt. And then the plan became much more concrete at that point, and I could really articulate what it was. But I had kind of an outline to start with. But you just have to get going. Otherwise, you can't learn. You can't adapt to. You need the information from doing it to be able to make the plan correct or more correct for you. The next thing is it needs to be dedicated. And I'm doing a full-time rehabilitation, so I'm not working right now. I know some people can't do that, but if there's any way that you can take time off work, I'm doing mine under Family Medical Leave Act. That would be great. If you have to take a loan out of your 401k to take some time to get better, it really is worth it, because the possibility of becoming back and being more present and a better holistic you is worth pretty much any price. So I wouldn't, rule out taking out a 401k loan if necessary. But if all you can do is part-time rehab, it needs to be full-time. Well, that doesn't make sense. It needs to be dedicated part-time rehab, meaning half of your day needs to be sucked up in your rehab efforts. It can't be where you're spending a couple of hours doing stuff, and I'll explain why in a minute, but it needs to be more than a couple hours. I would say like 5 to 6 at a minimum, and then work the rest of the time. That seems reasonable to me, but anything less than that I think would probably fail, and I'll explain why in a minute. The next aspect of the plan is that it needs to be holistic. And what I mean by that is it needs to be whole body, including the mind. It's not enough to just rehabilitate the injured area or things right around it. What happens with chronic pain is your body becomes debilitated everywhere because you stop moving and using lots of other muscles. And so if you're going to rehabilitate your body, it needs to be the whole body. It can't just be one area, one zone. And in particular, it can't just be the physical, muscles, right? It needs to be the brain too. Your mind, if you're like me, and I think like a lot of other people, becomes somewhat addled over time, and you become much more susceptible to depression and anxiety and things like that. And so there's really a lot of dimensions to this, but the key point is all of you, not just part of you, all of you needs to be rehabbed. So talking about those two major parts, mind and body, the first thing with the mind that needs to happen, and this needs to happen pretty much right out of the gate. Once you decide to start, you need to wake up your mind and take out the trash. And the best way I know how to do that is with psychedelics. Psychedelics turn the lights on and make sure someone's home. So you're fully present, you're aware, you're awake. And not only that, I think it gives you insight into which parts of you are the garbage, the stuff you've accumulated over years and built up, the trash that needs to be taken out. And then that way you can start to work on taking out the trash. So I would say psychedelics are a key part of this right from the get-go. Wake up your mind, take out the trash. Another key part would be practicing meditation. You do need to become mindful. You need to notice what's going on in your own brain so that you can learn to condition your own mind. This does not happen by default, and chances are you've let your mind degrade if you're in the state that I was in when I started. So you've got to meditate, and I would strongly suggest looking into psychedelics. Again, ketamine is FDA approved, it's legal, it's available in clinics in most major metropolitan areas, so it should be accessible to you. And even if you had to pay it out of pocket, worst case scenario, we're talking, a pretty nice 4K television at Costco, a couple grand, 2.5, let's say. And you can have your mind back, at least a lot more of your mind than you had before. All right, moving on to body from mind. The key element for body, as far as I'm concerned, is supportive routines, what I call supportive routines. That would be your warm-up, anything you do to recover after you've worked out, including cool down. So I spend over half of my time, my routine takes about 6 hours. I spend over half of my time doing supportive routines, warming up, recovering, and cooling down. So do not discount those. I don't think I would have achieved my personal best today, those ecstatic results, amazing results that I shared with you at the beginning, if I didn't have the supportive routines. In fact, many times along the way, I've expected to be debilitated and was surprised that I wasn't. And I believe it's all these supportive routines that are making the difference. So again, this is why you need a lot of time. It's not about just going to the gym for an hour or two. It's about all the stuff you do around the gym that makes the gym possible and keeps the workouts from debilitating you. All right, the next thing is diet. And I propose, there are other thoughts on this, but this is what I would propose. Whole food, not processed, plant-based, minimal animal products. I believe there's a lot of data to support that this is the right way to eat. You need to bring down the inflammation in your body. You need to start shedding excess body weight. This will do it in a sustainable fashion. We're not going to do keto or some extreme diet that we're only going to sustain for 6 months. We're trying to retrain our minds and bodies to eat in a way that we can eat forever, not just to lose pounds right now, but to eat that way for the rest of our lives till the day we die. Because if we do all this rehab effort and then we go back and gain all of our weight back, it defeats the purpose. Another reason to lose some of the weight is that it causes stress points in various parts of your body, probably parts that are injured, whether it's knees, backs, things like that. You need to get rid of your excess weight. And the best way to do that long term, again, not short term, long term, is with a whole foods, plant based diet with minimal animal products. And then in terms of your physical rehab, this is just the body, not the mind. All the things I've talked up to this point can be done immediately. So you can start with the psychedelics, you can start with meditation, you can start to change your diet, you can start implementing supportive routines even before you've started really doing the workout. And this is kind of a three-phase scaled approach that I've used with my own rehabilitation. So there was a physical therapy phase before I even got started. So day one of my rehab is really when I pick up with the aquatic phase, what I'm going to describe as the aquatic phase, and then the personal trainer phase. But before that, I did 3 months of dedicated physical therapy on my spine. So I would propose that you do this because you do need to get a certain degree of healing and mobility and function in the injured area to be able to move on to something else. So I would dedicate at least 2, maybe 3 months of physical therapy. If you're in really bad straits, I would say 6 months of physical therapy. It just depends on you. You'll have to adapt. Beyond that, you need to do some kind of aquatic activity. So when you feel like you've moved along the physical therapy route enough to where you can get in the water and start either swimming or doing something like, an aquatic aerobics. I think most people can do that. Or even put on an aqua jogger. It's a belt that keeps you floating, and get in the deep end of the pool and practice jogging there. Whatever it is, you need to incorporate aqua activities into your physical rehabilitation. So I did 3 months of physical therapy, and then I integrated 2 weeks of swimming because I can actually swim. Surprisingly, actually, I wasn't sure if I could, but I've actually been able to do it. And again, because of the supportive routines. If I hadn't been doing the supportive routines, in particular the warm-ups, I would not be swimming right now. So again, supportive routines, supportive routines, supportive routines. You need these. And then a couple weeks after I started swimming, I introduced what I call the personal trainer phase. And I'm not sure if there's a phase after this one yet because I haven't gotten that far. But the personal trainer phase is you need someone, and this is important, not a personal trainer who wants to train Olympians or 20-year-olds to compete in weightlifting competitions. These guys will kill you. They will have you do things that will hurt you. You don't need that. What you need is someone with preferably a physical therapy background or injury specialty. I found one. They are rare. So you're not going to find them easily, but you will have to search and find them. And when you find one, they're gold. So you need to get signed on with them and use them. But again, it's phased. So don't go right to the personal trainer. You need to go to the physical therapist first, and then introduce possibly the aquatics when you feel like it's appropriate, and then the personal trainer. And preferably your first personal trainer needs to be talking to your physical therapist. So I actually just stopped going to my physical therapist today. It was the first day that I've stopped going, but they were talking to each other. My records were sent over. There was some dialogue. So make sure that, if at all possible, the medical professionals that are working with you are talking to one another. They're having conversations. So overall, that's the plan, the framework of the plan that I have, and the elements I've been able to identify so far that are, I think, critical to my success so far, and would be critical to someone else trying to do what I'm doing. Fighting for your life means having a plan and taking the first step. The most important thing you can do is start. Have the outline, have the framework, and get going. And as you learn and get new information from what you're doing, you will adapt your plan continuously. Continuously adapt your plan. It is not a static plan. It is an adaptive plan. Mine certainly has been. So what does your plan look like? I'd like you to share that with me in the comments section, or any ideas that you might have to improve my plan. Please do. And don't forget to subscribe.